Your word, O Lord, is a lamp to our feet. The reading for this morning comes from the Gospel according to John, chapter 11, verse 1 to 45. Now a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. Mary was the one who anointed the Lord with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair. Her brother Lazarus was ill. So the sisters sent a message to Jesus, Lord, he whom you love is ill. But when Jesus heard it, he said, This illness does not lead to death. Rather, it is for God's glory, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Accordingly, though Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, after having heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Then after this he said to the disciples, Let us go to Judea again. The disciples said to him, Rabbi, the Jews were just now trying to stone you, and are you going there again? Jesus answered, Are there not 12 hours of daylight? Those who walk during the day do not stumble because they see the light of this world. But those who walk at night stumble because the light is not in them. After saying this, he told them, Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to awaken him. The disciples said to him, Lord, if he has fallen asleep, he will be all right. Jesus, however, had been speaking about his death, but they thought that he was referring merely to sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly, Lazarus is dead. For your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him. Thomas, who was called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, Let us also go, that we may die with him. When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, some 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them about their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, while Mary stayed at home. Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now, I know that God will give you whatever you ask of him. Jesus said to her, Your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection of the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? She said to him, Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world. When she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary and told her privately, The teacher is here and is calling for you. And when she heard it, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come to the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. The Jews who were with her in the house, consoling her, saw Mary get up quickly and go out. They followed her because they thought that she was going to the tomb to weep there. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said to him, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. When Jesus saw her weeping and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and deeply moved. He said, Where have you laid him? They said to him, Lord, come and see. Jesus began to weep. And so the Jews said, See how he loved him. But some of them said, Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying? Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, Take away the stone. Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, Lord, already there is a stench, because it has been dead 4 days. Jesus said to her, Did I not tell you that if you believe, you would see the glory of God? So they took away the stone, and Jesus looked upward and said, Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so that they may believe that you sent me. When he had said this, he cried out with a loud voice, Lazarus, come out. The dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them, Unbind him and let him go. Many of the Jews, therefore, who had come with Mary and had seen what Jesus did, believed in him. This is the word of the Lord.
Some situations do not look hopeless at the beginning. At first, we still try. We wait a little longer and hope things may get better. But when time passes and nothing seems to change, and nothing moves in the way we hoped, the heart slowly begins to make a conclusion. It is too late now. It will be hard for anything to change from here. We have already gone too far to turn back. John 11 brings us into that kind of place. When Jesus came to Bethany, Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. In those days, people buried the dead very soon after death. So 4 days does not simply mean that some time had passed. It means the funeral was already over. The stone had already closed the tomb, and in people's hearts, the thought had already settled. It is finished now. This was not a time when people still thought they could do something. Humanly speaking, it was already too late. John begins the story right there, not where possibility still seems open, but where possibility seems closed. That is why the words of Martha and Mary sound even more painful. The two sisters say the same things to Jesus. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. This is not only blame, it also holds faith in Jesus, hope in Jesus, and the sorrow of hope that seems broken. It is the feeling, Lord, you could have stopped this, but now it is too late. Martha then speaks about the resurrection on the last day. This is not the voice of someone without faith. Among the Jews at the time, there was a hope that God would raise the dead on the last day. Martha knew that hope. She believed that one day God would set things right. But that faith did not take away today's sorrow. There was a hope for the future, but the tomb in front of her was still real. She had faith about future, but the pain of today was still too heavy. Right there, Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life. Jesus does not only explain resurrection, he says that he himself is the resurrection and the life. This is the center of John 11. Martha thought that God's saving work would appear on the last day, but Jesus says that God's life is already present in him now. So this is not just a way of saying everything will be fine later. It means that even when death is standing in front of us, death does not have the final word. Even when the tomb looks like closed, God's work has not ended there. This word becomes even deeper because Jesus does not say it is a cold way. Jesus weeps in front of the tomb. He enters the sorrow of the house that has lost someone they love, and he stands beside those who are crying. This matters very much. Jesus does not treat human sorrow lightly. Faith does not mean there will be no tears. Faith does not mean loss hurts less. Jesus also wept. So sorrow is not the opposite of faith. Tears can still come where there is love and even where there is faith. But John 11 does not stop with the tears of Jesus. The calling of Lazarus is not only an emotional response. From the beginning, Jesus said that this would be for the glory of God. In other words, this event would show who God is and who Jesus is. So this story is not only about easing the pain of one family. Through this sign, Jesus shows that even in a place where death seems to hold the final power, God's life can still work. Jesus stands before the tomb and says, Take away the stone. Then they cries out loudly, Lazarus, come out. The people were looking at the stone, but Jesus was looking at the Lazarus inside. The people were looking at the story that seemed already finished, but Jesus was looking at the work of God that was not yet finished. And Lazarus comes out walking. This is not just a surprising miracle story. It is a sign that shows who Jesus is. He is the one who weeps with people in front of death and at the same time, for the glory of God, calls life out of the place of death. It was illness that took the life of Lazarus. But today, what takes away many lives can also look like a kind of illness. The greed of leaders who direct the world, the desire to hold on to power, and the attitude that treats life lightly make the world sick. Just as illness breaks the body, such hearts break human lives, damage communities, and wound nations. Even now, people live in fear in broken cities, and there are also young soldiers who are pushed into war against their will. Before they have really lived their lives, they are sent to the front line because of someone else's decision. And there they lose their lives. They too are someone's children, someone's family, and lives given by God. If Jesus wept in front of death, we can only imagine how much his heart aches today as he sees so many lives disappearing. The lives of citizens living in fear in ruined cities, and the lives of soldiers being used up in trenches and on battlefields are precious before God, before anything else, no matter which side they are on. So this passage asks us a question before asking what is more useful or more beneficial. Should we not first ask what will save more lives? Before saying that, we have already come too far. If there is still time to turn, should we not turn first toward the way that values life? And here, another important question comes into our own lives. What does it mean to believe in Jesus? It means we do not judge everything only by the closed reality we see in front of us. It means we do not decide that God can no longer work just because things are not going the way we expected. Often we put God's way of working inside our own box. We think by now it should happen like this, and at this point it should change like that. But John 11 breaks that box. Jesus did not come in the way Martha and Mary expected, but he showed God's life in a deeper way than they imagined. So this story does not remain only as an old story from long ago. If we believe in Jesus, this world becomes the way we see our lives today. It gives us eyes that do not correlate the end too quickly, even when a place looks like closed tomb. It gives us faith that God can still work even when things do not go the way we thought. It gives us hope that even when the Lord looks black to us, God can open a way where we did not expect one. This is not empty optimism. It is possible because Jesus, who is the resurrection and the life, is with us. This faith is not only needed for big world problems, it is also needed in ordinary life. Some relationships may seem too distant now to be restored. Some hearts may feel too hard to move again. Some situations may go so differently from what we hoped that we no longer even have strength to pray. In those times, John 11 quietly asks us, is it really the end? Is this really as far as God can go? Must God's life move only within the limits of my own expectation? Even the cross looked like the end. In human eyes, it looked like a failure, silence, and collapse. But right there, God begins resurrection. The tomb of Lazarus was the same. People saw a closed tomb, but Jesus stood there and called out life. So I hope we will not write the last sentence too quickly. Before we think it's too late, I hope we will first look again at who Jesus is. He does not turn away from sorrow. He weeps in front of death. And for glory of God, he calls life out of the place of death. Because Jesus is with us, we can look at life with hope. Even if things do not go in the direction we expected, God can still work. God is not trapped inside the box of our expectation. He can work beyond the limits of our thinking. So I hope we do not keep this story only as a wonderful story from long ago. For those who believe in Jesus, who is the resurrection and the life, this story becomes strength for living today. The final word is not death. The final word is not despair. The final word is life in Jesus Christ. Amen.